Welcome to the KACE SimpleHelp webinar titled Remote Work Made Easy, hosted by Quest and NetX. My name is Crystal Lewis. I am an account executive with NetX, a Quest preferred partner. And I am thrilled to see all of you virtually here attending this webinar. I am also very thrilled to give away a $50 gift card today. I'm not sure about you all, but sheltering in place has created an online shopper out of me. We will be giving away an electronic gift card at the end of this webinar, and you have the option to choose between an amazing Amazon gift card or a gift card to your favorite delivery service to have lunch on us. So be sure to attend the webinar in its entirety to be eligible to win. Just a reminder, this webinar is for non-KACE customers, previous KACE customers, new and existing KACE customers. We discuss several aspects of KACE and SimpleHelp features that will bring value to everyone here. Today we will hear from Zena Goshu, the Channel Account Manager at Quest, and also my partner in the coordination of this webinar. We will hear from John McCracken, the Senior Sales Engineer at Quest, and the VP of Technical Operations of NetX, Antoine Graham. We will be providing our contact information in the chat, myself and Zena, so feel free to reach out to us at any time. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to use the chat function. So let's jump in with an introduction of who NetX is. NetX was established in 1997 and has since remained a leader in customer service and an innovator in approaching the challenges IT departments are faced with today. As an engineering firm with some of the best system engineers in the business, NetX is uniquely positioned to help organizations implement not just cost-effective solutions to achieve efficiency, but really peace of mind in managing their information, data centers, and endpoints. As a Veritas and Pure Storage partner, NetX specializes in data protection, high availability, archiving, and e-discovery solutions. NetX is a partner of Quest, and this allows us to offer cutting-edge systems management and intrusion detection platforms that are more secure and accurate versus known traditional methods. NetX is a technology partner and preferred partner of Quest. NetX is the exclusive distributor of SimpleHelp. You're going to learn a lot about SimpleHelp today, which is a remote desktop protocol application, including remote monitoring, remote access, and support. Our Quest partnership provides KACE customers an exclusive promotion, including a 6-month free trial of SimpleHelp. And that's a wonderful incentive to become a KACE customer. So let's hear more about KACE. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Zena Goshu.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. My name is Zena Goshu. I'm the Channel Account Manager, as Crystal stated, from the KACE team. And we wanted to give you just a high-level intro and then pass it over to my engineer, John McCracken, to show you the meat and potatoes. So to get right into it, with the recent transition towards a digital workplace and a remote workforce, IT admins and users all over the US have been experiencing an array of newfound challenges and concerns. And more so, more than just new challenges, we're also seeing a compounding of the same old problems as well. And obviously, with the sudden and unexpected nature of these changes, combined with the financial burden that we've seen, doing more with less has become more important than ever. I personally spend all of April and March and some of May on the front line speaking to our current clients as well as potential clients about these circumstances. And I can say that I've heard everything from, frozen budgets to remote management and endpoint security issues, as well as, a pure lack of manpower due to layoffs, furloughs, things like that. So a lot of changes, and overall, a lot of folks are simply being forced to wear multiple hats. So we've seen a strong demand for simple solutions that can do a lot to tackle these complex problems that are also compounding, like I mentioned. So our goal here today is, to take a little bit of time to, at a high level, demonstrate how users can leverage our KACE solutions to best address these challenges and regain control over their systems. The theme here is basically ease of use and automation, as well as increased utility and flexibility through integration. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to John McCracken now.
Okay, great. Please let us know in the chat if you have any questions. I just wanted to show this slide to give everyone an idea of what we're going to be going through today. I'm actually going to start in the orange section, which is our KACE Systems Management Appliance. The SMA, in short, brings a whole suite of different products that people are usually trying to accomplish, whether it's on-premise or remotely, and bringing all those different solutions together. And then I'm also going to work my way across over to our privilege manager solution in a little bit too, talking about user privileges, people who have local admin, how we can lock them down, but still give them access to their applications while being locked down from a security perspective. And then I'm going to go a little bit over desktop authority, which is more of a configuration manager, right? I have a user log in. Maybe I want to lock down their USB ports, or maybe I want to make sure they map to the correct network drives or printers based on their location. And then finally, go over our systems deployment appliance for, re-imaging machines instead of spending time trying to figure out maybe something that's wrong with them, or if you're trying to get a whole bunch of suite of applications on a bunch of new devices that you're refreshing at the end of the year or just purchased, the SDA really helps streamline those. So let's get into the systems management appliance. This is the SMA, and the nice thing is you could literally spin this up in about 10 minutes by building it inside of a Hyper-V or VMware virtual environment, and you can also put it in the cloud on Azure, and we have a hosted option. So it's very flexible from every angle with the SMA. And not only that, I can manage people who are in and out of the network. So if I look at my devices, some of these devices aren't even on my premise. I don't need a VPN for them to communicate with the SMA. And that's a big bonus, especially in the time we're living in right now with the whole COVID-19 situation. We have many customers that are using this to find out devices they have as well as manage those. So whether we're trying to figure out where we stand on patching, show you an example of a report I have from a patching I just ran. So if I want to do something very high level, this is a great report for kind of the C-level staff to figure out, well, where are we at with critical patches for Microsoft and third party, because KACE supplies both of those. So you can see I'm at 100%, and I can see the devices that I recently patched. And then, of course, if I want to go into more details, for an admin perspective, if you want to know exactly, well, what KB numbers are associated with those patches, what was I missing, what did I actually push? Obviously, we can go into the details as well. So this is the exact same report, but it's given me a little more insight about what we actually pushed. So again, we just help streamline these processes that are typically when we see them, they're different solutions, right? We talked to a lot of customers that are using one solution for patching. They're using another solution for reporting. They're using another one for ticketing system. We bring all those things together under one place with the systems management appliance. Moving over to, outside of just patching, we've actually added some recent features. So this is actually good timing. We just released this last week, Windows feature update. So along with Microsoft and third-party patches, we also recently allowed the ability to do feature updates. So that means if you've got Windows 10 devices on 1803, 1703 maybe, and you need to upgrade them to 1909, that's what this is for, right? You can see my 1903 packages as well as my 1909. So it's not just about patching. One other thing to keep in mind as far as on the patching side of things is, security is what patching really has to do with. We also double that up with OVAL scans and SCAP scans. Those are third-party entities for security scans. That way, if you need to make sure that there's no current known vulnerability outside of just patching that maybe you're vulnerable for a couple of your devices, I could see this on a whim and run my scan. So again, KACE is not about a one-point solution. It's a total solutions product, right? It's bringing a bunch of these things together. And then outside of patching, a lot of people are trying to just roll out organizational applications to all their devices, right? And they want to make sure the proper people receive them. I have a whole list of applications that are being deployed automatically. It's being controlled by the SMA because it knows exactly who needs the software. I simply associate my files. So in this example, it's a 7-zip executable. That could be an MSI. If we were talking about Macs, it could be a DMG or Linux devices, right? We manage all three of those operating systems, Windows, Mac, and Linux. So again, KACE is used for a lot of different needs. And you can see the parameters that I provided, and this is who I'm targeting, right? And I can automate this and say, you know what, everyone in my organization might possibly everyone in my organization might possibly need this. So let's do a generic label for the agent, right? This is controlling who gets what. The same is said with my patching. It's completely automated. I'm not having to keep up with KACE. The reason being, there's an agent installed on the endpoints, and if we go into the inventory, we can take a look at one of my endpoints so you can get an idea of what we're actually going to pull. We pull a whole breadth of information when it comes to inventory, knowing what is on the device. You can see I've got a precision 5530 that we're looking at. And also just a shout out to SimpleHelp. We'll get into that later on in the demo, but I can actually integrate SimpleHelp with this product. So you can see it later. Antoine and then I'm sure we'll cover that in more detail, but that's the nice partnership with SimpleHelp and KACE is I can integrate a remote desktop tool on the same device that I'm managing from the SMA on a whim. So if I need to look at the screen and take control, I can do that. So that integration is great. We're getting lots of good feedback from our customers ever since we partnered with them. So appreciate the help. Kind of moving on in the inventory, just looking at the hardware alone, I could create automatic alerts maybe on my servers based on how much RAM is being used. If 95% is utilized, send me an alert. Even better, maybe I want to do an end of life report on warranty. We pull warranty for Dell, HP, and Lenovo out of the box. We also pull warranty for SNMP devices. So think about printers and switches. That is also part of this. We don't have agents for printers and switches. We don't do the upgrades for the software and firmware on them, but we can do network scans to pull in all of the devices that live on your network. That way you have kind of one truth of source for all the information.
Hey, John.
I'm not going to go through every, yeah.
Sorry, we had a question. I don't want to stop you, but
go ahead.
I was able to get another SE available right now. The question was, how do you get the SMA support to support external clients? Do you place the SMA directly on the internet, DMZ, reverse proxy?
Great question. Yes, great question. I'm glad someone asked that. Tells me someone's listening out there. So you place it on your DMZ and then enable and install your SSL certificate. That's if you're putting the SMA on premise. There is another option. So the scenario for this example is you're putting it on premise in your own host. You would put this on your DMZ, apply your company SSL certificate, whether that's a wildcard cert or if you need to go buy one, right, from someone like VeriSign, that's all you have to do. Once you've done that, now that machine can resolve the SMA without a VPN. So that's how we're able to get that remote control. And ever since COVID-19 hit, I've gotten tons of customers who were kind of, just looking at us in the beginning, and then they had to purchase immediately because, well, now they're kind of forced, right? They didn't have a way to remotely manage, and they can't trust their VPN. I think the biggest problem with VPNs is not that they're not working. It's typically the story I hear from a lot of customers is users just aren't apt to use it as often as they should. And so now you as an admin are having to depend on them. So this takes it out of the equation.
Got it. Thank
Hopefully
you.
That answers the question. Okay,
yes,
great.
There is a follow-up question and then another one, but I also don't want to stop you too much. So,
oh, no problem. Yeah, no problem. We can tell you what, if we get more and more questions, just to make sure I can get through the rest of the demo, I'll make sure, if we need to, I'm sure Zena can make sure I have all of the info I need and I can answer those questions if I need to through email. It's not a big deal. Please keep them coming though. Don't stop asking because we can address those afterwards if we need to.
Yeah, we'll also try and save some time at the end.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll do that. I'm taking notes, so we'll answer all the questions at the end, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. I wanted to move over to another SMA that I have. This one, I have two because I like this one. We share with a lot of our colleagues. This one's actually, I'm reaching through SSL, just like we were talking about. This is hosted in Austin, actually. And I wanted to show a little bit of the service desk. So there's some perks with having the same solution that has agents involved on your devices, also doing your ticketing system. Here's the perk. You could actually push out the shortcut to get to this interface with the SMA. because I can do full-on software distribution as well as pass any kind of command line. So whether we're talking about a simple batch file type of scripting or even PowerShell, we can do, right? This is full endpoint management that we're doing here. So what I've done is I actually pushed out a shortcut with this solution to my end users. My end users just click the shortcut and I have single sign-on enabled. So they're directly located to the user portal. So this is the user portal. I was at the admin portal earlier. This is what the user sees. And they could even do self-service software if I don't want to push software to them without them knowing, and you want them to have some control. This is a great option if you run into that scenario. So this is a list of software the users are welcome to pick and choose as they please. And I can even inject domain admin rights behind the scenes when they click these links. That way, if it's going to require more privileges than they have, that resolves that problem too. Even better, I could integrate this self-service software into the ticketing system. So as soon as they click one, maybe it creates a ticket automatically and then goes to your manager for approval to say, oh, yeah, we're out of seats. You can't have this license, right? So there's a lot of scenarios we can do here. Something else to think about when it comes to return of investment with this solution, like I've been saying, we're not a point solutions, right? We're about resolving a lot of different issues people come across. Ticketing system is obviously one of those. Most people I talk to, they have a ticketing system, that's all it does. And there's some perks with us. You know, first of all, I can create as many queues as I want. A queue is equivalent to a ticket form. If anyone's not familiar with the term queue, it's a ticket form, meaning my building and maintenance has its own ticket layout that's different than my HR layout. So if I go to my building and maintenance, it has obviously categories related to building and maintenance. Makes perfect sense, right? But if I go to my accounting or even my IT help desk, this is a more complex queue. Looks much different. This is more I use for hardware purchases, or if I want to maybe do change management, right? I need to patch my servers and I need to account for that with a ticket, let them know something's going to be affected. So there's a lot of ways to customize the KACE help desk depending on your needs. We do not limit how many queues you have. You can have as many as you like. You can have as many users and administrators. So again, when it comes to the ROI, this is where the SMA really starts to make sense for people who are used to paying per user or per queue or sometimes tickets, right, on a monthly fee. We don't do that. As far as just submitting, you know, saying hello, trying to work the issue, this is where we post everything in the comment section. And what's nice is think down the road, once you've actually built up some of this, you could start to include knowledge base articles that you build up. And then I can reference those on a whim and say, hey, this is how you change that hard drive for that hardware issue. You're welcome, right? And I could even integrate that SimpleHelp remote assistance within the ticket itself. So this is another perk. Since they're submitting a ticket through a machine with an agent, I know the machine that they submitted and I know the submitter automatically. I don't have to even wonder about those things. So those are some of the perks when you have a ticketing system built in with the solution that's managing the endpoint itself. So I just didn't want that to go without being noticed, because some people don't think about that since they're used to just a ticketing system that's isolated by itself. Then of course, reports, no different than my patching. You know, if I need to run a report on, you know, hey, show me the tickets opened by owner so I can get an idea of how we're doing, how are our metrics, are we working tickets like we should be, are we a little behind, could we be doing better? You know, I can see based on the technicians how many tickets they're owning and just how long they've been open. SLA agreements, that's all part of this, right? We can give you full metrics through streamline reporting, just like we do with the patching and software distribution. So all in one place. I wanted to go over to a product called Privilege Manager real quick. So this is the other side of the coin. The systems management appliance is for systems, right? It's focused on managing the endpoint. But then there's another issue that we have customers go through, and that is, well, I've had to give people local admin access because they're not going to be able to do their day-to-day job if I don't. And so they're kind of in a corner. They either take away the local admin, but now they're going to get flooded with calls, or they have to manually install. So this is where Privilege Manager can give you the best of both worlds. First of all, I could discover who has a local admin right off the bat, and I can see that this user 2 has logged in on 2 different devices. These are the devices at the top. So these are the 2 that I searched, and I can see user 1 is part of the administrators. I can remove them right here. So I could report on who has it, remove it. Now the next piece is, okay, I've removed it. Now they're going to call me because I can't get access. Well, I've actually created rules to elevate. So we use the word elevate. Think of that as a whitelist when I say the word elevate, just so there's no confusion. I'm saying I want you to have access to these files even though they require local admin. What's happening is when the user now launches any of these executables that you see listed, Privilege Manager injects the local admin SID into the application itself. So therefore, you are never elevating the actual user. So that means you're always in compliance from a security standpoint, right? So we see this one, it says Systems Properties Advanced Executable. Well, let's look at that in action. This is the Advanced Systems Properties. I'll click that in a little bit. I'm going to go another direction to show you what's going to happen if they click something they don't have access to. So just so everyone knows, I'm not pulling a fast one. I am logged in as a user. There you can see it's already told me you're logged in as a standard user. You're not going to be able to make any changes. So let's just assume I go to try to change one of these drivers. You can see it's badged already. So there's my UAC prompt. I'm not going to be able to give access. So this is where Privilege Manager comes into play. It noticed that I tried to access something I don't have access to yet. So I could request it. I could say, yes, please give me access. This is going to go directly to the Privilege Manager self-service request. And you as an admin can now approve it or deny it. And now they can access or not access depending on what you choose, right? I've already done that for the Advanced Systems Executable. Just to show that again, it's right here. I've already whitelisted Systems Properties Advanced EXE. So now if I go this way with the same user, you notice I haven't been flagged yet in Device Manager. And now if I try to change a driver, I don't get flagged at all. So the point is, you don't have to, take away the keys from the end users and then leave them, to high and dry, not able to do their work. It's going to give them the best of both worlds. And you could use this from an administrative standpoint too for other people, right? That was an example for a standard user. How about someone who is an admin that's going to need to have access to lots of different applications, but you still don't want them to be a true local admin. You want them to be locked down, but they need to be able to launch a whole variety of applications. So the issue then becomes, I don't want to have to make 60 elevation rules for this one person. Instead, I could target them for what's called instant elevation. Instant elevation lets them launch anything they want to while still being locked down as a user. So example, this 7-zip, I could right click it. And if you look, I have this little icon. That is the Privilege Manager icon right there, that key, and it says elevate. So since I have targeted this user already for instant elevation, he can launch anything he wants, right? Now, if I would have double clicked this as a regular user, I get the UAC prompt. So that's the whole point. We're able to get around all these issues that people have kind of been plagued with over the years for, trying to get that balance of locking people down, but getting the job done too. And then finally, not just elevating applications and files, we can also blacklist too. So if that's part of your strategy, you already know, hey, I don't want people launching or installing uTorrent. You can see that I blocked it right here. And I could even see from a reporting standpoint, if I go to my application discovery, everything we just started doing, I can see what this user was doing while they were launching around, right? There's that 7-zip we were launching. There's that system device properties we were in. And then here's my self-service elevation request. So this is, think long-term, anything you haven't thought about, a rule that you haven't, thought about giving access to, you're going to get the access from the user's going to let you know about it, right? They're going to submit these similar to a ticket, and then you can process it, look at the details and say yes or no. And that's really the short and sweet of Privilege Managers, just locking down users and giving them that access. How much time do we have? Zena, I just want to make sure we're doing okay.
We're doing okay.
Okay, just let me know. Don't be shy. Going along to desktop authority, this is also on the user management side. This is actually the bigger brother to Privilege Manager. This is specific to your domain, just like Privilege Manager. So a little bit different than the systems management appliance we looked in the very beginning that was system focused. This is more about giving configuration. So example, when someone logs in, I could target them through domain, maybe AD groups or security groups or specific usernames and say, I want to make sure they have access to specific USB ports. But we're very, very granular with how we set this up. If you look at all the settings, you can see all the plethora of read, write, full control, or deny any of these individual ports that are on the back of your motherboard. So not just USB ports. We call it USB port security to kind of get the name across, but it's very detailed, right? And I could make sure I create my own different profile and apply them to the correct groups. What's also nice is once I've set up the groups that I want to target to have access or be blacklisted, I could go either way with this, with those profiles. I could also put in exceptions. So what if you targeted a group, say your accounting group, and you blocked the USB ports, but then you had one other person that you also wanted to block, but you don't want to add them to the accounting security group in AD. I see that a lot where people have to kind of bend over backwards and move people to groups they would rather not. Because they're kind of forced to, because GPOs aren't very flexible. Well, with us, you could actually put in a specific serial number USB that you give out to someone and put it in here as an exception. And you could have it to deny or allow the USB. It goes either direction. So you could use this from a blacklisting perspective or a whitelist. So if you combine this exception and then with the targeting, it's called validation logic. You start off with what OS are they on? Is it Windows 7, 8, 10? When do you want this to run? Do you want to run it log on, log off, refresh, all three? Once you have that pinned down, now you can move on to being specific about what groups you will affect. And in this example, I'm saying if the computer OU equals test machine, everyone within test machine. But what's nice is I could be much more flexible than that. I could add another query and I could do this based on computer info. So if you're mapping printers, this is a great way to do it. I would do it through the IP range, right? IP4V, that's great for printers. For this example, for USB ports, I would probably stick with AD information. So we could say network membership, and I could go down to user groups or even down to the individual username. But the point is we're tied directly into your AD structure. So you could pick and choose and not have to mess with WMI queries if that's what you're used to on group policy at the moment. This is a great alternative. All good? There are my groups, by the way. That is just one example. We won't have time for the sake of this demo, but I just want to kind of whet everyone's appetite on what DA is all about. USB port security is just one example. We do lots of different things as far as mapping drives, setting registry keys, doing browser settings, right, for IE, Firefox, Chrome, things of that nature, firewall, so a whole plethora. So let us know if anyone is interested in a demo later on. We can go into more details about any of these products. I just wanted to finish up with the SDA. This is the smaller brother to the SMA. So not to confuse everyone, this was the SMA, the very first one we started that does, all the different tools in one. The SDA is the smaller brother. It's for rolling out images. So the idea is you don't want to spend too much time maybe with an issue, 2 or 3 hours with a customer is probably not worth it when you could just re-image it within 10 minutes, right? Maybe 25 devices, 100 at a time, depending on the size of your environment. What's nice is I can do automatic driver injection through our driver feed. So let's say you've got a bunch of Dell devices and you get a brand new 5540 and you already have an image. This is what it would take to then streamline this new model into your existing image. You don't have to recapture all I do is pull the drivers directly from our feed, download and install packages, pull it directly from Dell's site, and now I can, on the go, inject those drivers for the image. We also have another tool for anything that's non-Dell, so HPs, Lenovo's, and it's called the Driver Feed Builder. The difference is it's an application that you download locally to that model and run it, and then it auto injects into the image at that point. But as far as the image itself, what's nice is we've kind of streamlined and made it much more flexible. Instead of you creating a huge image that's, say 60 gigs, I know lots of people that have done that because they want to make one gold master image and they're huge. Well, instead, you could have one image and get the same amount of applications and configurations as a big 60 gig image, but never have to go that far. I could have one image, I could call it accounting, and what makes it specific to accounting are these tasks. These tasks have nothing to do with the image. That's independent, and that's the whole point of this product. I capture an image, and then I say, well, I need to tailor this image now for accounting. Okay, well, accounting, they need to migrate their user profile. So let's do that. Let's collect the computer name, create our partitions, and then let's install all the applications that we need a part of that. This is independent from the image capture for that purpose. So that way, you're not stuck or hamstrung with this big gold master image that doesn't work for the next model that comes in or the next group that needs a different application. And you got to start from square one again. You don't have to do that with us. You can have one image for everybody. So what I've done is I built up this library on the right side, very similar to the SMA for software distribution. It's the same idea. I build up that library and I simply drag and drop what is specific to accounting. And so now accounting is going to get all these applications. And for someone who's using this day to day, automated deployments kind of spells out how you're actually going to use the product. I've already associated an image and I've associated the correct machines for my lab. So I simply just say, run now. And it's going to pixie boot all those devices, run the correct image, and post install tasks for applications. Anyone who's doing a normal kind of interval, you can set this on a schedule, right? If you're not doing a run now perspective, you can set it up on a schedule. And we can do unicast and multicast as well. Anyone who can take advantage of multicast is extremely efficient compared to unicast. I think that's all that I had for the time, just because I know we're throwing a lot at everyone in a short amount. Are there any questions or anything someone would like me to kind of go over again? I do want to make sure I'm saving plenty of time for the SimpleHelp staff, though.
Yes, so we do have questions that have come in. Any that have we will get them to you and try to answer them at the end of the SimpleHelp segment. Does that work?
Okay. Well, I will let the SimpleHelp guys take over, and I really appreciate everyone having me today. Feel free to reach out to us anytime, and we can go into more details of some of these solutions.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Zena, go ahead and provide your contact information in the chat so everyone that has a question about KACE can reach out directly, and we will go ahead and hand it over to Antoine Graham to jump into SimpleHelp.
Right, perfect. That was a great presentation there. Let me get to my controls so that I can show my screen. All right, perfect. All right, so thank you everyone for joining. My name is Antoine Graham, VP of Technical Operations here at NetX Information Systems. And we will talk about the SimpleHelp tool. I did see some of the questions that came through the chat in reference to SimpleHelp, so I'll try and guide some of the conversation or the direction of the presentation towards some of those questions to get those answered for you. So what SimpleHelp gives you is not just a traditional remote control tool. I mean, there are tons of those out there, right? But what we also have is the ability to provide remote support, that agentless remote control for those users who may be working from home using their own computers. You know, obviously we don't want to install an agent on those particular systems. So we'd have the ability to assist those users who may be having a trouble connecting to VPN, right? We can assist them over the internet. And oh, by the way, you also have the ability to add that support link right into the customer portal within your KACE service desk. So, they can go to a one-stop shop. They can get their software, or if they need some assistance on their own machine, they would have the ability to join your queue, and you can assist them from there. The remote access is where we have a traditional agent installed. And as you also saw, that agent can be pushed from your KACE platform. And what that does for us is it helps us to not only remote control on demand, but it also helps us get beyond that pesky UAC prompt that many of us on this particular meeting have struggled to get around when we're attempting to assist users using some collaboration tools, such as maybe a Zoom meeting or something of that nature to render support. And then we also have remote monitoring. So now we not only have the ability to assist those users, whether on demand or ad hoc, but we also have the ability to set specific policies in place. And those policies can then perform some of the work for you, right? As Zena mentioned in the very beginning, we're strapped with having to do more with less. So let's take some of the manual efforts that we would have to generally perform or wait for a ticket to come in, and let's set monitoring policies to do some of this work for us. So from a desktop perspective, we have now the ability to use many of the tools that we've really only seen in the server environment to assist our desktop users. And we'll get into a couple of examples of that as well, as how to send that ticket into your KACE service desk. SimpleHelp is integrated in KACE out of the box via device action. Starting version 10. I saw one of the questions that can you show us how the integration works? So the device action is again available out of the box. You would just simply navigate to your settings and make that device action visible. And then you install your technician console. The technician console is where you'd have the ability to either remote control directly from the console and have a bird's eye view of your environment, who's online, who's offline, IP addressing, some of the very similar information that you saw within the SMA. But you don't have to have the technician console actually launched in order to start a remote control session from within your SMA. It just has to be installed on the technician's workstation. So we have that remote control capability, that remote support capability. And now, with taking feedback from many customers, we've now added a remote work solution as well. And that remote work solution basically allows you to provide direct access to your end users. They may be connecting from their home machine, but there may be resources that you do not want to actually allow them to install on their personal devices, right? Or you want to keep tighter controls, maybe using Privilege Manager and things of that nature to ensure that that machine stays locked down, but you want to provide them the access to that system from wherever they are in the world. Whether you want to force them through VPN or not is completely up to you, but it does not have to happen, right? Monitoring and alerting, again, agent deployment from the SMA. There's actually a Quest knowledge base article out there if you want to just grab a screenshot of that knowledge base article for any existing customers. This will basically give you the agent payload for importing into your SMA and pushing out to your environment. Auditing capabilities are available as well. So not only do we capture the instance when a remote control or remote work or even a remote presentation has been launched, but we also have the ability to force the recording of that screen. And that recording can be viewed in a standard web browser or from within the technician console. We also have the ability to deploy scripts and software. So let's say, for instance, you have not yet exposed your SMA to the outside. Maybe there's some change controls and things of that nature you have to go through, whatever the case is. But you still want to be able to run scripts against those remote systems, whether they're on-prem or off-prem, or install software, whether they're on-prem or off-prem. We have the ability to do that. And guess what? This all runs as system. So again, we don't have the issue of having to deal with the UAC prompt or even the access level of the remote user. All communication is encrypted by default, But you have the ability to add your SSL certificate onto the SimpleHelp server as well. Multifactor authentication is available, and multifactor authentication is enabled by default for remote work. And we'll take a look at a remote work interface as well. You have the ability to brand the tool. You also have the ability to share your screen with multiple users. So I'd have the ability to, very similar to how we're connected here, I could provide a link from my SimpleHelp server. I can even require specific details to be inputted, as well as a password. Send that out to a group of users. They would then have the ability to view the screens that I choose to share. The architecture is flexible, and we'll take a quick peek at a screenshot of a drawing on the architecture. We also support Windows, Linux, and Mac from not only an agent perspective, but also from a server perspective. So you're not tied to Windows. If you want to lower your total cost of ownership, spin up a Linux VM, or if you're a full Mac shop, you can install the SimpleHelp server on your Mac OS as well. From the remote work perspective, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. And we'll take a look in the console to see how we would actually set this up. But simply, you would enable remote work for a PC. Remote work was introduced in version 5.2.9. Okay? You'd register your user's email address. The end user would then receive a link to download their console. It will be launched from their start menu, as well as they would receive an email with a passcode. So we're enforcing multi-factor authentication via email passcode at a minimum. However, we'd have the ability to take advantage of Duo or TOTP, things of that nature. Okay. Some of the benefits, again, no expensive hardware is required. Again, you have the ability now to provide remote work as well as remote support to your entire environment using a Linux VM. Again, very, very low cost. Support staff can monitor and assist the remote workforce. So not only would I be working from home, connected to my system within the perimeter of my company's network, but I could also be supported from a technician who is also working from home or from the beach. Okay. No VPN is required. However, you can force all your users through VPN if you chose to do so. Connections are secure, and license cost for remote work is very, very cheap. From an architecture perspective, just one example here. Okay, you have the ability to install your SimpleHelp server on your DMZ, in your internal network, or in your favorite cloud provider. We do not turn your firewall into Swiss cheese. So in order to make your server available to the outside world, we'd simply open a single port or a custom port. The default ports would be 80 or 443. We have many customers who choose a default port. One of Antoine's best practices is to ensure that we have an external resolvable DNS name. Okay. From there, you'll notice some of the other connections that you have the option to configure, such as integration into Active Directory for your technician logins, as well as for your end user logins into their remote systems, as well as the system has the ability to send email as well. And that's how we will get to some of that additional integration into the KACE service desk. From a monitoring and control perspective, have the ability to select a device from within my SMA, choose the device action for SimpleHelp Remote, and launch directly into remote control session. We'll take a look at that. Also, from within a KACE ticket, I have the ability to send an alert to my KACE service desk, have it generate a ticket, populate the appropriate device name, the appropriate owner, as well as add the details as to why that particular ticket was raised. And I'd have the ability to not only view the device history, ticket history, so I may see that, hey, this particular device has experienced this multiple times, but I also have the ability to use the device action right here, that little arrow, and launch into a remote control session. Again, what will be required is to have the technician console installed on that tech's machine, even if the technician console is not open. Okay. All right. Let's minimize that. And what I want to show first is simply my technician console. Okay. From within the technician console, as you can see here, we have an overview of all the systems in our environment, as well as some systems that have an alert, had triggered an alert. So with the system that I have highlighted, I can scroll down below and I can see that the antivirus is out of date on that particular system. This may have triggered an email to the service desk, or it may have not only triggered an email to the service desk, but also triggered the install of the antivirus. Okay, so we have the ability to, just as you saw within the SDA, stacking those tasks, we could do the very same thing within the SimpleHelp console. We can actually stack those tasks to perform multiple functions against a system or group of systems. Okay, I'd also have the ability to, if I needed to install my antivirus from outside of a remote control window or outside of a ticket or an alert based on my toolbox items, I'd have the ability to select multiple systems, and I have the ability then to use a tool, and I can go ahead and use any of the tools that I've created within my toolbox. Also, by the way, if you are a KACE customer and you've spun up the SimpleHelp platform, if you reach out to us by email, I will provide you a group of sample toolbox items to get you started on creating some of your own toolbox items here. Okay. We also have the ability to send a mass message to a group of systems, right? Email is down, or get out of the building, or whatever the case is. So we have the ability to configure things such as that as well. I'll cancel here. And let's actually pop into a remote control window that I started prior to my session beginning here. So you'll notice from within my remote control window, I have the option to chat. Okay, so I can basically go ahead and say hello. Shows up on the end user screen. I can also choose to record this session. Now, this recording can be controlled by permissions as well. So maybe I am of the mindset that I want every single remote control session actually recorded and stored on a server for auditing purposes. I could do that. I could just simply set it up in the technician's group permissions. I also have the ability to run those same toolbox items from here as well. So again, maybe I needed to open the control panel, or maybe I have my KACE agent out there. I needed to restart it, or maybe uninstall 7-zip or something of that nature. I have the ability to do that. Again, this all runs under the context of the agent, which runs as system. In the back end, if I needed to connect to a system and perform some diagnostics, or maybe I needed to, that pesky VPN, I needed to get that configuration file out there, I could just simply grab that configuration file from my machine, and I could push it over to the remote system very easily. Or maybe I need to grab a file from the remote system. I can just simply highlight it and pull it back to my system. This does function over the internet as well through that single port that I mentioned before. And that single port can be a custom port. Again, all communication is encrypted, not only file transfers, but any actions and things of that nature that we've taken. Also, from within the back end, I'd have the ability to gather stats and info. And what this does for me is, again, it allows me to take advantage of the back end diagnostics. Oops. It's a really, really slow VM out there. But I have the ability to take advantage of the back-end diagnostics in order to fix a problem before I actually interrupt the user. Maybe I know exactly what the issue is, and I can just go into the registry and things of that nature to actually take care of that. I'm going to go ahead and close that particular session here, and we'll launch another session. So there we are. So you notice also I have this remote work example. So I'm going to basically combine those two remote control sessions here. So from my remote work example, I have the scenario of an end user needing to connect to their machine. I'll get back to the diagnostics in just a moment. So it's going to take a little different turn here, nothing like a live demo, right? So on this remote system here, I have the ability to view multiple monitors. So that system that is actually located right next to me has 2 monitors. So I can view both of those. I can go ahead and size the the screens and things of that nature as well. From a user perspective, there's nothing different, and this is, go ahead and make that full screen. There's nothing different than if I was actually right there at my, my screen at work, with the exception that I'm at home. Now, if I needed some assistance, let's say, for instance, you know, I'm an internal application, I'm working on the application that's thrown an error. I reach out to my service desk. That service desk technician can find the username or the computer name, and they can simply double click on it to start a remote control session. So what that does for me now is, and as you'll see, we have a change in the icon there. So it went from 1 to 2, and it's slightly different colored here. Now I have the technician who's connected to the system. You note that the consoles are similar but different, as well as I have the remote work console. So here we go. Now, what's really cool about this is I may have a situation that, you know, I don't really know how to fix this problem. I could go ahead and ask one of my colleagues to also remote into the system, and we can watch one another work, and we can collaborate on this particular issue. We'd be able to see one another's mouse and keyboard motions as well. Let's go back to the back end. That other VM I need to reboot at some point. So I click the gather stats and info. Now notice here, this person is working from home against this machine, but I'm in the back end and I'm actually doing stuff against this system. Maybe they have high CPU utilization and I need to terminate a process. I can get some information about this particular system, such as when the operating system was installed, things of that nature. Maybe I go over to the console and I run some commands at elevated privileges. I'll just launch Notepad here. I'm just keeping an eye on the time. I can manipulate ports. I have the ability to view the existing services. I could change the startup mode of a service. I can stop, start, as well as delete a service right from this window. And as well as I have direct registry access to this system. Okay, I'll go ahead and terminate both of these remote control sessions just quickly. A couple of things I want to ensure that I get into. I have my browser pre-launched here. I mentioned we have the ability to view our recordings via a standard web browser. So I'd have the ability to record that session, and maybe I'm recording an actual fix, and I can drop that recording either in a knowledge base article via the shortcut, or I maybe drop that on a user's desktop, or maybe provide it to an auditor who is not in my technician console, so they wouldn't have to actually install it in order to view this recording. I'll just go ahead and terminate that now. We also have the ability to launch what's known as a mobile console. Okay. What this does for me is it allows me to manage my devices from a standard web browser. So maybe I need to quickly connect into a system from my phone or from a tablet or from another type of device, right? I can go ahead and do so. I just simply log in. I have the ability to take advantage of multi-factor authentication here as well as I can remote control that particular machine. I just clicked on a Linux box here. Hopefully I made sure that that system was online. And it gives me a standard remote control window. I'd have the ability to send mouse and keyboard strikes to that remote system as well, just quickly and easily. Okay, I'll go ahead and close that guy up. I want to get into really quick alerts. Again, realizing I'm running short on time here, but one quick alert that I just created here is let me know if the CPU is over 90%, as well as I want to know if there's something occurring in the event log. I'm just going to go ahead and click the add threshold button here. And if I want to look at maybe a process running, a bad process exists or does not exist, maybe firewall status, I could quickly and easily set those up. These policies are very, very simple to configure. If I wanted to grab something out of the Windows event log or trigger based on something within the Windows event log, I'd have the ability to do so as well. Or even look for the existence or the non-existence of a particular registry key. Okay. Once I click next here, I can have the ability to also filter over a specific group of machines. Again, these machines can be on or off network. As long as an agent is installed, they would be able to trigger the alert. And then I have the ability to go ahead and set my trigger actions. And within my trigger actions, you'll notice I have 3 here. The first one is to send an email. I want to send this email to my KACE service desk. I'll just do KACE service desk here. I can make this a smart email. So basically I use my event details to state the machine name has triggered and the alert name. And down below, I'm going to go ahead and set some properties within the KACE service desk ticket, right? So I'm going to set the machine name to be the device name within the service desk. I'm going to set the owner, and I'm going to go ahead and plug in the reason. Again, I have the ability to grab that right from here, hit enter, and maybe I want to add some more text down below, maybe followed by automated action. And then next, I go ahead and add another action here, and I have the ability to go ahead and pick a tool. So maybe not only do I open the ticket, but I want to run this script that does one part of the fix, and then I'll run another script that does another part of the fix. Okay. Once the machine is no longer in alert status, maybe I want to just go ahead and notify a technician. So I can go ahead and select notify a technician, and I can select the application owners of that particular system, okay, or who the group that's responsible for that particular system. And I click done. I enable the policy. Now the agent checks the system locally, and if the trigger action has been met, it will go ahead and add a flag to the system within the console, and then perform whatever other actions that we've specified. I know that was a lot. I was talking really fast. I even garbled some words there, but there was a lot to get in. Hopefully, I was able to address many of the questions, and I'm sure there will be more, and we will be very happy to answer those offline, as well as if you are interested in a more detailed, specific demo to your environment, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to get that scheduled for you.
Yeah, we did have one question, which was, how do you handle machines that are on the network that are not connected to SimpleHelp?
Yep, great question. So we have the ability to either push a custom agent to that system. So we have the ability to push directly from the SimpleHelp console, or you can follow that knowledge base article and push the SimpleHelp agent from KACE.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so thank you all for your time today. I have entered all of your names into a raffle for the $50 gift card giveaway. If you are the winner, you will receive a message via chat in the next few seconds. And just in the interest of time, I'll just say who the winner is. Once I call your name, please go into the chat box and let me know if you would like a gift card to Amazon or to your favorite delivery service. And the winner of today's gift card giveaway is Jonathan Rogers. Congratulations, Jonathan Rogers. Please go into the chat function. Let me know if you prefer Amazon gift card or food delivery service, and if so, which one. And thank you all for your time today. Please keep in mind that you will be contacted by myself or Zena about your experience in today's webinar. Each time we host these, it's important to get your feedback so we can improve the experience for the next webinar. And if you have any questions about scheduling like an individual demo or pricing, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you all for your time today, and we'll see you at the next webinar. Have a wonderful day.